Everybody's hope you guys doing today. His very bad reaction to the video Rebooted MCU. Yeah, has it been a while since PS on April? Yes, so we remember we told you about we have 2 months break times. Yes, so today we're going to react to the PS7 finally reaction. So we're going to react to PS7 is part 1, but part 1 they can have the 2 portraits over that part 1. So the portrait number 1 is Spider-Man Morris. But before that I got something like a few. And am I Spider-Man? He died in Avengers in the Common Galaxies. I miss Peter Parker. But this new Spider-Man is a Morris, yeah. And we got portrait number 2 is Inhumans, who's there been like for 2004 like humans, and there's 2 characters like Blackpool and then Crystal in the Avengers the Common Galaxies. And Crystal, she was in 2004 one and yeah. So anyway, so if you enjoy the video, mention thumbs up, but don't subscribe, because everyone 100k subscribers, so yeah. So when that reaction.
Hey guys, before we start, I'm sure most of you are probably going to be a bit confused by some of the audio in this video. That is because before I ended up making the decision to go ahead and cut this episode into only 2 projects instead of 4. I had the full audio recorded, expecting to have 4 projects in this episode. To be honest with you guys, I had a few job interviews this week and some other meetings with important life stuff for me, so this kind of got put on the back burner, and thus I'm not able to fully edit everything. But I think moving forward, it'll be easier for me to go ahead and just include 2 projects per Rebooted MCU episode moving forward. So that means when we hit our like goals on Dragon Ball analysis videos, you will get 2 Rebooted MCU episodes when we hit those goals. But anyways, if you hear me discuss anything related to 4 projects in this episode or anything like that, again, just keep in mind this was recorded before I made the decision to only include Miles and the Inhumans in this episode. Anyways, enough talking, let's jump in. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rebooted MCU. Today we are here with the Kickoff Saga 3, otherwise known as the Multiverse and Monster Saga, which covers phases 7, 8, and 9 of Rebooted MCU.
Shopping for great tech? Get the best of the best. Search Amazon Electronic bestsellers today. Oh no! Hay fever, hurry! Pirites starts to work in 1 hour.
Trust me when I say the ending of Rebooted MCU is going to be insane, but we still have quite a lot of stories to cover. And that starts today with Phase 7 Part 1. This episode will cover the first 4 projects of Phase 7, and is structured in a similar fashion to the Phase 6 video released a few weeks ago. Before watching this, make sure to check out the first 2 sagas of Rebooted MCU by checking out the recap videos in the complete Rebooted MCU playlist on my channel. Also, make sure to check out the Rebooted MCU side projects. The current ongoing side project is Luna Snow by Adrian Man Ray, and we have a few others coming soon, and trust me, they are incredible. Finally, make sure to like, comment, share this video with a friend, subscribe to the channel, and also make sure to subscribe to the members of the RMCU creative team. Howd Aspect, Adrian Man Ray, Light Visions, Bluey, and I Am Groot. Their channels are linked below. Anyways, let's jump into the first project of Phase 7. Phase 7 Part 1 is Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and it takes place in Universe 2031. The story picks up a few months after Peter Parker's death at the hands of the World Eater Galactus, as we see the young man who has assumed the mantle of Spider-Man, Miles Morales, played by Dallas Dupree Young, dealing with the loss of his mentor while also handling life as a high school senior. Miles spends most of his days applying to colleges, hanging out with his best friend Gonke Lee, played by Ian Chen, and attempting to woo his high school crush Barbara Rodriguez, played by Laya De Leon Hayes. Miles has been seriously struggling with the loss of Peter, but thankfully his mother Rio, played by Maria Elena Loss, has been extremely supportive and has allowed Miles to unlock a lot of pain that he's felt following Peter's death. Outside of his life as Miles, Spider-Man and Spider-Woman, played by Daisy Ridley, attempt to protect the streets of New York, often working alongside Daredevil, played by Elodie Young, and Police Chief Misty Knight, played by Simone Missick. to take down those who seek to cause chaos around town. This has been exponentially easier thanks to the support of Mayor Luke Cage, played by Mike Coulter, who works closely with the duo, even sending his wife, Jessica Jones, played by Kirsten Ritter, to help out when he believes she is needed. Overall, a sense of normalcy has returned to New York following the attack by Galactus. However, this sense of normalcy would be short-lived, as a certain unwelcome and unknown creature from outer space, who found its way to Earth thanks to the Annihilation Wave, comes into contact with a dangerous man by the name of Cletus Cassidy, played by Ben Foster, a murderer who was brought down by Daredevil in 2013, but was freed thanks to the executive order by Wilson Fisk. Miles and Spider-Woman would discover a new threat one night during a bank robbery, as the duo encountered a man donning a green suit fitted with a metallic tail capable of battering opponents and shooting electric blasts. Miles and Spider-Woman are overwhelmed by this new opponent at first, but are saved by a familiar face, Flash Thompson, played by Phil Dunster, who has fully bonded with the Venom symbiote and now operates under the alias of Agent Venom. After rescuing the duo, Flash brings them to his base of operations, where he explains that he's been acting in the role of a vigilante since the death of Spider-Man, hoping to carry on Peter's legacy in his own unique way. During his time acting as a vigilante, Flash has become a reluctant ally of the Punisher, played by John Bernthal, who was freed from prison thanks to Fisk's executive order. The duo has been tracking a new crime organization known as the Magia, that the duo surmises has filled the void left by Fisk. The Magia seem to be solely focused on making money and growing their profits, which is in sharp contrast to Fisk, who is focused on increasing his power and influence over the city. However, this lust for money and recent activity from known Magia allies has led both Flash and Punisher to believe that something big is coming, which prompts Miles and Jessica to form a temporary alliance with the duo to monitor the situation until it gets resolved. This is when we are introduced to the man from earlier, Mac Gargan, played by Michael Mando, who has begun operating under the alias of the Scorpion. Gargan, a former thug of Fisk, has begun working with the Magia in hopes of becoming one of their crime bosses, a role that opened up following the death of Lady Deathstrike at the hands of Deadpool. Using his Scorpion suit created by the Tinkerer, Scorpion has gained favor with both Magia Chief of Staff Caesar Big C Cicero, played by John Turturro, and former Fisk appointee, mayoral candidate, and current crime boss Leland Owlsley, aka The Owl, played by Bob Gunton. So much so that Big C has put Scorpion in charge of picking up a weapons delivery the following evening in preparation for the Magia's biggest heist to date, an event that Big C hopes will put New York on notice that the hierarchy of power in the underworld has changed. The following night, we watch the team of Miles, Spider-Woman, Agent Venom, and Punisher attempt to intercept the weapons deal. In the process, Miles watches the ruthless and vengeful tactics both Venom and Punisher use to defeat their enemies, and copies them for a brief second. This shocks Spider-Woman, who asks Miles what happened, to which Miles responded that he momentarily acted with anger and spaced out. He had no clue why he responded in that way, but during the midst of the chaos, not only see that Scorpion attacks the team, but we also watch as a giant red monster similar to that of Venom attacks. This monster calls himself Carnage and claims that he is hell-bent on killing Venom. This prompts the group to call for a retreat, as the power of Carnage and Scorpion combined is too much for them to handle. Once the group is safe, the symbiote, voiced by Darren DePaul, explains that the symbiote that attacked them is known as the Carnage symbiote, a natural predator of the Venom symbiote that were all seemingly wiped out during Blue Marvel's quest to destroy the symbiotes. But the sudden appearance of the Carnage symbiote is troublesome, as they are extremely aggressive, seeking to attach themselves to a host that they sense is filled with destructive potential and use that host to lay siege and feast on the planet's inhabitants. This new and troubling revelation is interrupted by Miles, asking both Venom and Punisher why they fight the way they do, and why they seek to show their enemies no mercy. Punisher tells Miles that he uses the pain he felt when his family was killed and has turned it into anger, and unleashes that anger whenever he confronts someone.
It should cost $1 billion to look that good. Take it all off, or just a little, if you like.
Miles says that during the fight, he used his anger and nearly killed his enemy, something Punisher praises, but Jessica warns against. As Miles is lost in thought over what happened, the group agrees to regroup the following night and discuss their plan of attack. We then cut to see Gargan chatting with Cassidy, who explains that he does not understand what the symbiote wants him to do, but that he has an insatiable desire to kill as many people as he can. Hoping to use this to his advantage, Gargan encourages Cassidy to work with him during his upcoming mission, when the Magia will attack the U.S. Treasury building and commit their biggest heist to date. Gargan tells Cassidy that the heist will draw the attention of the vigilantes the group faced earlier, which will give Cassidy the perfect opportunity to kill his enemies and quench his desire for bloodshed, a proposition that excites Cassidy. The next day, we see Miles attempting to figure out why he acted the way he did, and where his anger is coming from. This prompts Miles to meet with his uncle, Aaron Davis, aka the Prowler, played by Donald Glover. A meeting where Davis recommends that Miles talk with his mom about how he's feeling in order to avoid making a mistake that he will regret. That evening, Miles finally opens up to his mother about how he is feeling. He is angry. Angry that he lost his dad. Angry that he lost his best friend. Angry that he hates not knowing what college he's going to attend. Angry he feels lonely. Angry at the emptiness he feels inside. As Miles breaks down, Rio reassures him that it will be okay, and it's also okay not to be okay, telling him that life is filled with high points, low points, and everything in between. But through the good times and the bad times, it is important to lean on those who care, and take solace in the fact that in the end, everything will be okay. As Miles hugs his mother, he receives an urgent phone call from Jessica, saying that something big just happened. We then see the Daily Bugle's backup news anchor, Karen Page, played by Deborah Ann Wool, reporting on a massive explosion that occurred just outside the Treasury building, as we cut to see Miles, Jessica, Flash, and Punisher frantically heading towards the scene of the explosion, with the group noticing the massive hole in the side of the Treasury building and a large number of Magia goons guarding the perimeter of the building. The sheer number of opposition causes Punisher to question if the group even has a shot of achieving victory, which prompts Jessica to reveal that during the day she had been gathering reinforcements to be on standby in the event that something like this occurred. We then watch Miles, Spider-Woman, Punisher, Agent Venom, and the reinforcements of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Misty Knight take on the Magia. We see Miles face off against Scorpion, who taunts Miles in an attempt to get him to react with anger and let his guard down. Remembering the words of his mother, Miles remains cool and manages to take down Scorpion. This is when Miles notices Venom struggling to hold his own against Carnage, who already managed to leave Punisher badly wounded. Despite Venom having his back against the wall, he yells at Miles to stay out of the scuffle and attempts to take Carnage on his own. After being overwhelmed by Carnage, Miles refuses to stand by any longer, ripping the electromechanical mechanism off of the Scorpion's suit. And using the device, Miles shoots a powerful sound wave at Carnage, causing him to freeze and allows Agent Venom to make the kill, claiming victory over Carnage. In the end, we watch as Gargan is arrested while Cassidy was killed by Flash in the midst of the battle. Spider-Woman tells Miles that she is proud of him and that her new goal is to stop the Magia, a goal that will require her and Miles to continue working together in the future. The movie ends off as we see Miles, Jessica Jones, Luke, and Rio having dinner together, as Luke presents Miles with a full scholarship to Empire State University, an offer that Miles happily accepts. In the first post-credit scene, we see Luke and Jessica arrive at their home following the meal with Miles and Rio. This is when Jessica makes a huge revelation that shocks Luke. She is pregnant. In the second post-credit scene, we see Agent Venom wandering around the streets at night when he is confronted by American Panther, played by Aldous Hodge, who says that he was sent by his employer to thank both Venom and Punisher for helping to take down the heist on the U.S. Treasury building. When Venom asks American Panther if he's being targeted by the government, American Panther laughs, saying that both he and Punisher should be on the lookout for further communication soon, as they will both be major players in an important operation that is currently in the works. Phase 7, Part 2 is The Inhumans, and it takes place in Universe 2030. The second project of Phase 7 is technically the first project chronologically, as it happens days after the coming of Galactus. But I think Miles fits better as the kickoff for Saga 3, so that's why it is slated first and Inhumans was slated second. Just wanted to explain why I chose that order before we jump into the story. The project opens up as we see Crystal, played by Millie Bobby Brown, being transported back to Adelan on a SWORD spacecraft. She is joined by Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, played by Iman Vellani, SHIELD agent Daisy Johnson, aka Quake, played by Chloe Bennett, and SWORD director Abigail Brand, played by Amelia Clark. Brand is accompanying the group in order to establish a relationship with the Inhuman King Black Bolt, hoping to form an alliance in the event of future space-based attacks on Earth. Both Kamala and Daisy hope to learn more about their powers and the origins of the Inhumans. As the group arrives on Adelan, we are greeted with the members of the Inhuman royal family.
Get your hands on great tech. Search Amazon best-selling electronics. Shop the best-selling tech today. When we were little, we discovered how much fun it is to move. But then, we got
King Black Bolt, played by John Hamm, Queen Medusa, played by Amy Adams, Gorgon, played by Rupert Grint, Karnak, played by Louis Tan, Triton, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and, of course, Lockjaw. We see Medusa quickly run and embrace Crystal, telling her how much she missed her little sister while she was away. While this happens, Kamala takes an immediate liking to Lockjaw. This is when we see the group split up, allowing us to see various parts of Adeland and Inhuman culture. We see Crystal, Kamala, and Lockjaw wander around Adeland looking for fun places to explore, while Crystal also attempts to talk with Kamala about her emotions following her breakup with Johnny. Karnak, Triton, and Gorgon attempt to teach Daisy new battle techniques and strategies, while Black Bolt, Medusa, and Brand walk around Adeland, with Medusa explaining both the history of Adeland and the Inhumans to Brand. If you need a refresher on the history of the Inhumans and Rebooted MCU, make sure to rewatch Fantastic Four: Arrival of the Inhumans, as the origins of the Inhumans would be too much to recap here. This is also where we learn of the massive social changes sweeping Adeland following the attack by Maximus and Dr. Doom 6 years earlier. Black Bolt, in an attempt to listen to the concerns raised by his brother, decided to eliminate the system of involuntary servitude that had been in place for years, attempting to fix the massive divide between the upper and lower class. However, this has created new problems. Discrimination towards Inhumans with weaker powers, a slowdown in the economic prosperity on Adeland based on the move away from mining Terrigen crystals, the Genetic Council's refusal to accept any proposals from Medusa that seek to change the process of Terrigenesis. This has led to Black Bolt becoming a divisive ruler, with many from the upper class viewing him as a traitor and those from the lower class believing he's not done enough to accommodate them. This division has led to a group of Inhumans to vehemently support the release of Maximus the Mad from prison, a man who has also been busy during these previous 6 years. We then cut inside the prison on Adeland, where we see Maximus the Mad, played by Iwan Rion, sitting in his cell on level 10 of the prison, a level inhabited by only 3 other prisoners, considered to be the most dangerous in all of Adeland. Maximus has become a cult-like hero to the prisoners of Adeland during these past 6 years, with all of them believing that he is the only one capable of fixing Adeland. While Maximus has enjoyed the praise, he's also managed to bond with one of the other prisoners kept on level 10, Fader, played by Craig Fairbass. Fader, a former member of the Genetic Council under former King Aegon and Queen Rinda, has been working with Maximus on a plan to escape from prison and defeat Black Bolt. While Maximus wants to escape, he's also intrigued by the story of Fader, and more specifically, how he found himself on level 10. Fader once approached King Aegon with a startling discovery, that Fader's son, Maelstrom, had undergone Terrigenesis and based on his initial reports was shown to be the strongest Inhuman in history, holding power the likes never before seen on Adeland. Angered by this proposition that there is an Inhuman stronger than he, Aegon would call for Fader to be stripped of his position, leading to both Fader and his son Maelstrom being arrested and thrown in prison. Fader has intel that leads him to believe that Maelstrom is secretly being hidden on a level just below the duo, and if they manage to free him, he could give them just enough strength to finally take down Black Bolt. We are then shown the royal family once again, as we see Quake begin to master her Inhuman abilities, even being able to keep up with Gorgon and Karnak in one-on-one combat. And while Black Bolt is briefed on the current defense capabilities of the United States, Medusa is able to have some one-on-one time with her sister, allowing Crystal to finally open up about how selfish she feels for not wanting to let Johnny go, and how she is worried that she'll never meet someone like him again. Medusa consoles her sister, reassuring her that she is still young and will eventually find someone who will make her happy. This is when Medusa recounts the backstory of her and Black Bolt, including Black Bolt's time in the soundproof chamber following Terrigenesis, how she and Black Bolt learned to communicate with one another, and the incident that made Black Bolt king, when he accidentally killed his parents and other members of the Genetic Council through the inadvertent use of his powers. As Medusa's story comes to an end, we watch as a guard rushes into Crystal's room, informing Medusa that a riot has taken place inside the Adeland prison. Back inside the prison, we see Fader holding the beaten body of a prison guard, as both he and Maximus manage to be freed thanks to help from the other prisoners, hoping that the freed Maximus would bring about their emancipation. We then watch as Maximus and Fader make their way to the secret level 11 of the prison, where they discover a grown Maelstrom, played by Hayden Christensen, chained up in a cell. Fader greets his son, asking him if he is prepared to lay siege against those who put him in chains. We hear Maelstrom scream for his freedom, begging his father to let him unleash his power against those who put him in chains. We then watch Fader and Maximus free Maelstrom, who unleashes his powers, which include superhuman strength, kinetic energy absorption, and kinetic energy bursts. Near the prison, we watch as Black Bolt and the royal family arrive on the scene to discover a group of protesters who believe that Black Bolt intentionally hired an inmate to start a riot in hopes that they would kill Maximus based on the increased support for him to become king. As Medusa attempts to dispel these claims, he watches a burst of energy erupts from the prison, as we see Maximus, Vader, and Maelstrom emerge from the prison, with Maximus proclaiming his thanks to those who supported him and patiently waited for his return. Maximus approaches Black Bolt, taunting him and screaming at him to attack. Black Bolt refuses, as he turns to Medusa, who tells Maximus that Black Bolt will not fight against his brother. Maximus laughs and tells Black Bolt that he will see how long the charade lasts, as we see Maelstrom launch himself at Black Bolt, showing that, like Vader once reported, his power is capable of rivaling even that of Black Bolt.
Belly pain for the last hard kilometers of the race. Buscapin starts to work in 15 minutes for quick belly pain relief.
They bit off cooling that, sir. The Newton treasure.
This prompts a member of the audience to yell for an all-out attack on the royal family, leading to a gigantic scuffle that spreads throughout Adelan. We see Medusa, Quake, Gorgon, Triton, Karnak, Crystal, and Miss Marvel attempt to hold off the supporters of Maximus, while Maelstrom begins eviscerating Black Bolt, as Vader and Maximus watch on. Maelstrom eventually lands a blow so powerful it causes Black Bolt to grunt in pain, causing him to shoot a massive sonic blast that levels an uninhabited building. This prompts Maximus to begin to gloat, saying that Black Bolt's carelessness is what led to their parents being killed, is the reason he is the rightful king of Adelan. As Maximus proudly pronounces that he is the rightful son of King Aegon and Queen Rinda, Maelstrom turns his attention to Maximus, saying that he promised his father that he would kill those who sought to put him in chains, including their children. As Maximus begins to plead for his life, Vader watches on and thanks Maximus for helping him escape, but announces that their truce has come to an end. Black Bolt watches on as Maelstrom grabs Maximus by the neck, proceeds to shoot an energy blast at point-blank range into his chest, killing him instantly. This gives Black Bolt enough of an opening to finally launch a counterattack against Maelstrom, allowing him to get enough distance between himself and the main hub of Adelan to scream goodbye, sending a sonic blast that completely destroys Maelstrom and Vader, ending the fight. We then watch as the members of the royal family and Maximus supporters alike stand down, as Black Bolt carries the corpse of his brother through the town square. There's not a word spoken by anyone, as Black Bolt falls to his knees, and a single tear drops to the ground. A few days later, we see the royal family hold a public funeral for Maximus, the funeral in question being a sacred ceremony filled with 3 days of mourning, a ceremony reserved only for the king or queen of Adelan, a final goodbye and a sign of reverence for the brother who was betrayed and made to be viewed as a villain by the very same sibling he is honoring. The movie concludes as Miss Marvel, Abigail Brand, and Quake prepare to return to Earth, as Black Bolt continues his quest to make Adelan a more just society by addressing the wrongs of the past while also keeping an eye towards the future. And as the sword ship prepares to depart, we see Kamala hug Lockjaw goodbye and tell Crystal that she will be back to visit again sometime soon. In the first post-credit scene, we see prisoners on Level 9 lamenting the fact that Maximus is dead and they will never be freed. In the middle of their sobbing, a prisoner reminds his colleagues that they still have hope, as there was still one prisoner kept on Level 10 that could reshape the very landscape of Adelan. As the prisoners are reminded of this, they begin chanting the name of that prisoner on Level 10. Lash, played by John Cena. And in the second post-credit scene, we see Kamala open up a present given to her by Medusa just before she left Adelan. Inside is a piece of clothing called the Biokinetic Polymer Scarf, which Kamala will be able to use as both an accessory and as a weapon in her future endeavors. And that does it for Rebooted MCU Phase 7 Part 1. Again, I want to apologize for not...
Yes, so that's finally reaction to the JTVideos Rebooted MCU Phase 7 Part 1. Yeah, so will you guys come below as I gave that reaction, yes. So tomorrow will be a Part 2, yeah. So hope you enjoy the video, mention and thumb up. And don't forget subscribers, thank everyone 100 subscribers. And yeah, so this is to protect Part 1, but tomorrow it's still to protect the Part 2. But I'll tell you what protect will be tomorrow, so yeah. So I'll see you tomorrow, eh?